Well, good morning, brothers and sisters. I am so glad you've joined me for today's devotion, whether you're listening to the podcast or watching the video. Hope you had a great weekend and you were also in Worship Sunday, just celebrating the grace of Jesus Christ. Here at First Baptist on Sundays, we're continuing to look at different passages in John's Gospel, learning about the person of Jesus Christ, who He is, what can we know about Him from what the Scripture tells us and what Jesus said about Himself. Well, today in our Bible reading plan, we are in John chapter 18. John chapter 18. Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's betrayed by Judas and arrested, and his trial begins. It's also in this chapter where Peter denies knowing Jesus. And there's several things in this chapter about the Lord which stood out to me. One is just how He knew what was going to happen, his foreknowledge, and you see an indication of that in verse 4 when it says, "So Jesus, knowing all the things that were coming upon Him." So here in the garden, just shortly before He's arrested, we're told that He knew everything that was getting ready to happen to Him. Knowing all the things that were coming upon Him, He went forth and said to them, "Whom do you seek?" And so it's just amazing to me that Jesus, knowing all that was going to happen, all the suffering, which would include the trial before the Jewish Sanhedrin, and they're spitting on Him, slapping Him in the face, mocking Him, His abuse by the Roman soldiers, being beaten, the crown of thorns, His being crucified and becoming sin for us, bearing the sin of humanity as He died on the cross, all of that. Knowing all of that was going to happen, when the mob that Judas was leading showed up to arrest Jesus, in verse 4, at the end of verse 4, in the middle of verse 4, it says that He went forth. In other words, as the mob was approaching Jesus, rather than standing still, He approached the mob. Wow. He went forward to engage them in conversation. And what amazed me was how prepared He was for what was about to happen to Him. He knew all that was going to happen. He goes forward to engage the mob, and He was so prepared. Remember, chapter 18 follows chapter 17 and earlier, when Jesus had this beautiful time of prayer with the Father in the garden. And that time of prayer is part of what God the Father used to prepare Jesus, or God the Son, for what was about to happen. So think about that a minute, that spending time in prayer, spending time in the presence of God prepares us for what has not yet happened. So we often focus on praying when things are happening or praying after things happened. Jesus spent time with the Father in intense prayer before things happened, and it prepared Him for what was going to happen. There's a powerful lesson in that for you and me. Also in chapter 18, verse 2, now Judas also, who was betraying Him, so this is describing Judas getting ready to betray Jesus, says that he knew the place, talking about the Garden of Gethsemane, for Jesus had often met there with His disciples. Let that sink in. The Garden of Gethsemane was a place where Jesus would regularly meet with His disciples. The night after the Passover and the Lord's Supper, the night He's going to be arrested, where does He go? Garden of Gethsemane. What does He do there? He has this very personal, intense time of prayer that prepares Him for the suffering He's about to endure. So prayer matters, and it prepares us. But one of the things that helps us have a meaningful prayer life is to have special places. We need those special places that help us maintain connection to God. Gethsemane was a retreat, so to speak, a special place for Jesus. And you and I need some routines. We need some routines that involve set times, but also places. Where are those places where you can really connect with God so that you can be prepared for what happens in life? Now, weekly worship is one of those, yes. But you also need a place in your home. You need a place Monday, Thursday, Saturday, that helps you stay connected to God. That's what Jesus had. And so having that place, Gethsemane, and spending time in prayer prepared him for the suffering that was going to come. I want to encourage you to have a routine, establish a routine, find a place, your place. I have 2 or 3 places where I tend to do most of my devotional reading of Scripture and writing in my journals. You need a place, and you need to regularly meet Jesus there and pray, because it will prepare you for what's coming, because you don't know what's coming. God does, but you don't. And your prayer with Him in your special place will get you ready for whatever is coming. That's the word for today. Thank you for listening and watching. I look forward to being with you tomorrow.